It's Monday, October the 23rd. I'm doing this a couple days early. I'm going to be fishing Palmy Lake this week. So anyways, lake levels right about 916 and a quarter. Hadn't changed very much. Water temperature's coming down, and with the weather forecast we got this week, the water temperature ought to come down a bunch more. And I actually think the fishing's getting quite a little bit better than it has been. I'm going to do a little different report this week. I spent a lot of last week at Bull Shoals guiding, but I had a tournament here. I fished the Joe Bass Championship here this weekend. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what I did in my practice and during the tournament. I practiced about a day and a half for the tournament, and I spent a half a day way up in the upper White River from Shell Knob up towards Eagle Rock. And then I spent the next day, Friday, from Baxter to Kimbling to Ants Creek and down towards the dam. I covered quite a bit of water. And I did find some deep fish in isolated trees. And a lot of these trees were way out off the points. And some places they were out there on humps. And I was able to catch some fish on a white half-ounce War Eagle jigging spoon. And I usually like to put a little feathered hook on it sometimes, especially right now. The bait that was out there where I was catching these fish were real small shad, so that's why I went with a little bit smaller spoon. And if the wind wasn't too bad, I could fish it. But these trees came up to about 35 foot from the surface, and I wasn't getting a lot of fish out of these trees, but most of the fish I did catch were keeper Kentuckys. And in the past, every once in a while, you'll catch a good largemouth. So I kind of had that going. And I fished a lot of shallow stuff, running the bank a lot with a wiggle wart, trying to get a spinnerbait bite and a whopper plopper bite. I never got that going. So anyways, the first day of the tournament was Saturday. We had, real high wind, but sunny skies. And that day we actually had 10 keepers, so we got to cull through 5 fish. And we weren't catching anything very big, but we're in 7th place after the first day. The fishing's been so tough that my goal was just to catch 5 15-inch fish. And then if we were able to do that, then we'd go, trying to upgrade. I don't really know what to do to upgrade, because there hadn't been that very many quality fish caught. But I was going to just go fish a lot of history. But anyways, what I did get figured out in practice, if I could stay in some of these deeper creeks where they're like 45-degree angles with a lot of pole timber, the points leading into these creeks and the backs of them. Now, the first day of the tournament, we caught a lot of our fish in the back of them. And there was 2 different baits we caught our 10 keepers on. One was a 7/16 ounce pig sticker jig, and I had a Strike King Rage chunk on there for a trailer. Now, most of the brush piles I was fishing were 5 to 12 feet deep in the backs of these pockets and in the steeper creeks. If there was bait in there, and it sounds kind of crazy, but the clearer the day, the higher the sun, the better the topwater bite was. Caught about half our fish on top and half on a jig. And I couldn't catch them on a whopper plopper. I tried fluke, I tried underspins, but the only thing I could catch them on was a walking bait. And what was working best for me is a Strike King Sexy Dog. It's real similar to a spook. It's got a real loud rattle. It'd be like equivalent to like a one-knocker spook. And I tried several different colors. But this color here, it's kind of a clear, it's a chartreuse sexy shad is what it is. That seemed to work the best. And the brush piles, I'm running Garmin electronics. I just got on my new boat here. But it was such a key, especially on these shallow brush piles, to be able to see where the brush pile was before I got the boat on top of it. Even if you've got a waypoint on the brush pile, with that Panoptic, you can actually line the boat up, and I've got it set about 70 foot. So I never had any wasted cast with the jig. I knew exactly where the brush pile was. I could see it on my Panoptic. So I wasn't fan casting trying to find it. And that was a big key. not being able to waste time, because I was covering a lot of different areas of the lake where some of the brush I had put in, some of it I had found. Well, anyways, then the next day we got clouds and rain and wind again. I didn't mess around with any deep fish the first day, because once I started catching fish in the backs of these pockets, they were roughly 2-pound fish. I didn't feel like I could do much better out there deep, so I stayed shallow. I felt the potential. I was catching mainly largemouths back there shallow. I just felt that the potential was a little bit better to catch a bigger fish back there. Anyway, second day, clouds, wind, rain. You'd have thought it'd been a perfect day for whopper plopper, spinnerbait, crankbait. Well, we tried that, for 3 hours, never had a bite. So I went back to some of the areas I was catching them on the brush piles, and the sun really made a difference, because without the sun, it didn't seem like the fish were pulling into these brush piles. Couldn't hardly get a bite on any of the brush piles that we had fished the previous day. So we fished some new ones. That didn't work. Right about noontime, it stopped raining for a little bit, and the sky looked like it was going to clear. All of a sudden, the shad started coming up, and caught our first keeper about noontime or so. So then I started running kind of the same type areas that you would fish in the springtime with a jerkbait. Cedar trees and hardwoods on points leading into the backs of the pockets. And we started getting several blow-ups on Strike King Sexy Dog. And my partner was throwing a spinnerbait, and she was catching some short fish. But I started catching a few keepers on the Sexy Dog out of them cedars. The problem was we had a 2 o'clock weigh-in, and I waited till way late in the day to make an adjustment, to make a change. But it seemed like once I started running that pattern, I found fish just about every place I went on a secondary point, kind of leading back into where some of the fish, normally in the spring where they would spawn. That's exactly where I found them. And I think what some of these fish are doing, the bait's back in some of the creeks. The fish are just staging out there waiting for the water to cool down a little bit. So, with the water temperature and everything cooling down, I expect that a lot of these fish will start filtering into the bag, and there should be a better whopper plopper bite. I know a lot of the guys caught them the second day on the whopper plopper. We didn't. I never did figure out what type of banks to fish it on. We ended up with 3 fish the second day and dropped to 20th place out of, I think, like 170 boats. So, all in all, it was still a fairly good tournament. But I just thought I would share this, how I went about the tournament and what I did in it instead of a regular fishing report. So, thanks a lot. Until next week, good luck, good fishing.